After last season, knowing you lost Neil, Woosty, and Ryan, did you expect others to step up to take their spots on the team?
You always hope that guys will work and get better and improve and everything. And we don't have any other choices. Josh Fleming's returning, but the other guys have really made a lot of progress. Josh showed a lot of leadership, but the other guys did improve dramatically over the course of the last 11 months or so, and that's why we had some success this year.
Coming into this season, if I would have told you that you were going to win the GCL South outright and be a contender to repeat state, what would you tell me?
I'd tell you were nuts. I think that was beyond. You never know where you're going to end up, what you're going to do, but what we do talk about all the time is we got to get better every day. Just got to improve a little bit every day, whether it's practice, the game, or off season. And we did that. We really improved. We were struggling in November, and we got better in late November, and then all of a sudden December hit with the regular season. We started winning some games and kept getting better, and just unfortunately the last night we just couldn't make a shot. We actually played real well on defense and rebounded well. We just couldn't score.
How was the chemistry in the locker room throughout the season?
Of all the years that I've coached, 22 years as a head coach here, this is by far the closest team I've ever been around. They just were really tight. They really developed it in November and early December. I think the winning does help that, but at the same time, I think the seniors really showed great leadership. I think they made sure that everybody was working hard and doing what they were supposed to do. And this group really listened. They were really good at following directions. They really took what we worked on in practice and took it to a game. The whole group really was just a group of one.
Did you expect Josh Fleming to have a successful year like he did?
We really did. He's played a lot of basketball. We always thought he was a really good player, and Josh works at the game. It's very important to him. He's a tough guy that's got a lot of basketball skill, got a lot of athletic ability, and for us to be successful, he was going to have to play well. And the thing about a good player like Josh or anybody is how consistent you are. And game in and game out, Josh was the best player on the floor. Josh got it done offensively, rebounded, guarding people. Like I said, his leadership skills were outstanding. The team really rallied around him, and he was a guy in front of our toughness and of our defense and everything. And, we expected him to have a good year, and he really did have a great senior year.
How is it to be the most all-time winningest coach?
It's a nice thing. I guess if you coach long enough, you're going to get that and everything. And you have good enough players, you're going to get that. And we've had a ton of good players here, so that's not one of the things that we talk about a whole lot, or actually talk about at all. But now that the season's over, to pass a guy like Bill Cady, who was a great coach and a better person, it is really an honor.
Are you impressed at all with the defensive game that stepped up this season?
The defense was outstanding. Actually, the last 3 years, our defense has just been so good. I look back at the all-time stats here, and over 50 years, one team gave up less than 50 points a game. In the last 3 years, we've given up 44, 41, and 36. So the boys have really bought into playing D and being tough and boxing out and guarding the ball, and the defense has just been outstanding. That was probably the biggest surprise of the year, is just how well these guys defended all year long, especially being as short as they were. Not a starter over 6 foot. Our guys really battled, really boxed out, and holding team into the mid-30s usually is good enough to win, which we did win a lot of games, but the last one we just couldn't score.
What are your thoughts on next year?
We got a lot to replace. We only have 4 guys coming back on the varsity. We have a sophomore group that's got to make a decision whether they want to work at basketball and work hard and be part of something successful. We got to find some guys to fill those spots. Hopefully we'll find enough guys that want to put some time and effort in. Being a basketball player is not a tricky thing. You just have to really want to work hard and put the time in. And guys that don't want to work hard, or guys that don't want to put time in, there really no room for you in basketball. So hopefully we can find some guys that want to do it. If we don't, we'll go to plan B. But hopefully we'll find some guys that are currently here that want to put some time in.
How do you think the reserve team developed this year, and what they need to do to be a benefit to varsity next year?
Yeah, the reserve's got to make some changes. The reserve has to put more time into basketball. They practice during the season, but out of season they don't do a whole lot, and that's one thing that has to change. Their attitude has to get a little bit better. Their work ethic has to improve. There is some ability there and things that we can do to help us win games, but they have to make some changes, and that's what we're talking about. Do they want to commit? Do they want to make some changes? If not, we'll move on without him. If they do, hopefully we can continue to have some success.
For the LaSalle community, how is Ryan doing at NKU?
You know, he's had his ups and downs this year. He didn't get to play a whole lot early. He sat on the bench quite a few games, played a minute here, a minute there. Some games he didn't get to play at all. And then about a month ago, or late January, early February, he started to play a little bit more, and now he's actually playing about 20, 25 minutes a game and actually doing pretty well. Scored double figures for his first time in his career. He's never been a big scorer, but he did score double figures in their conference finals. They have their first round NCAA tournament game on Saturday down in Louisville. We're going down to, they play Finley from up in Ohio. So, you know, hopefully they'll have some success. You know, he's enjoyed it. It's different than, you know, high school's a lot different than college. You know, college is a different animal, whether it's Division I or Division II. It's not quite the same. So it takes some time to adjust and everything. But he's done okay. He's done okay.
How's Trey doing at Christian Brothers?
Trey was kind of the opposite. Trey got to play a lot early, playing 25, 30 minutes, doing really well, and still doing fine, but not playing as much. The guy that he's in competition with has actually played better, and he's down to probably 10, 12 minutes a game or so. And it's typical with freshmen. You have your ups and downs and things like that, but you know, both of them had I'm sure, learned a lot this year. Both of them have to improve a lot to play. You know, kind of like I'm saying with their sophomore group, you know, they got to make a decision, Trey and Ryan, do I want to practice more? Do I want to get better? Do I want to get into the mix, or do I just want to coast along, you know? And that's the decision that the individual players have to make.
Has your heart attack changed your routine from last year at all?
No, it hasn't changed my routine. We still do the same thing. We still work as hard. I don't yell and scream as much as I used to. That part of me has calmed down a little bit. But no, nothing really changed. And the doctor even said, he said, you know, you got to be who you are, and your heart is strong, and just, you know, coach the way you coach and live the life you live. You know, just don't be eating bad food, and, you know, make sure you get your exercise and things like that. Get your rest. I do get a little more rest than I did before. I do sleep a little. Well, I don't sleep a lot, but at least I lay down a lot more. And but no, it hasn't really changed a whole lot.
All right, thanks.
All right.